Good evening, Commonwealth, and thanks for watching the Channel 2 News. I'm Ashley McDowell. Let's take a look at tonight's top stories. Another airline has suspended flights to and from Saipan starting today. Also tonight, business leaders speak out on the impact of the coronavirus on the economy. And students from Hopwood Middle School may soon be getting back into classrooms that aren't tense. In sports, organizations band together to get more bang for the buck. Stay with us. These stories and more are next.
What is Whole Home Wi-Fi? Whole Home Wi-Fi spreads Wi-Fi across your entire home. Pods plug straight into the wall. No messy cables. They spread the internet from your modem to every corner of your home at full speed. Whole Home Wi-Fi doesn't just make your Wi-Fi faster. It intelligently adapts to your environment and manages your Wi-Fi 24/7 based on insight like the number and types of devices connected to your home. Whole Home Wi-Fi, powered by Plume. Learn more at docomopacific.com.
Look closely at the perfection that is the Quarter Pounder, and you'll see it's actually made of countless imperfections. Those randomly and impulsively placed sesame seeds, that one slice of melty cheese at the bottom, and another draped haphazardly over the 100% fresh beef patty cooked right when you order. True, the hottest, juiciest Quarter Pounder yet is not perfect, but when you put it all together, it's perfect. Made perfecter. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
At one of Saipan's beaches, this mother lays about 100 eggs under the cover of darkness. She hides her nest as best she can and then slowly makes her way back to the ocean. The eggs hatch and the babies head for the sea, where they will face a daily dose of danger. Just 1 in 1,000 will make it to adulthood. Those that do will one day lay their own eggs. Sea turtles are protected under CNMI law. If you see one that is stranded or if you see illegal activity, call the hotline at 287-8537.
Hafa-day, Tirwami, and good evening, Commonwealth. Today is Thursday, February 6th, 2020. Hong Kong Express has canceled flights to and from Saipan starting today. According to a statement on Hong Kong Express's website, due to operational reasons, flights going between Hong Kong and Saipan have been canceled from February 6th to March 28th, 2020. Affected guests have the option to change to a new route of HK Express network or get a full refund on the booking. Governor Ralph Torres states this would incur an even bigger loss in revenue by the end of the fiscal year.
Or to lose by the end of the fiscal year. That's our biggest concern, is that that's a number that we can calculate loss, but getting information like Hong Kong Express now just gets another hit on our economic output, right? So now, instead of cutting $40 million at the end of the fiscal year, now the government has to cut additional $5 million, maybe $7 million.
HK Express states they will continue to monitor the situation and announce changes to flights from March 29th, 2020 and onwards. The coronavirus is causing a large financial downfall on the CNMI with no tourists from China. KSPN speaks with some businesses on Saipan on how they are handling the situation. Businesses on Saipan gathered for the Saipan Chamber of Commerce General Membership Meeting, where Governor Ralph Torres, members from MVA and CHCC spoke on the effects the coronavirus is having on tourism in the CNMI.
From China, there are more than 18,500 canceled bookings from January 22 to March 29. From Korea, we have more than 3,000 canceled bookings through major travel agencies. And major travel agencies I'm speaking of are like Hana Tour, Mo Tour, Yellow Balloon Tour, Good Tour, A Very Good Tour, and etc. And that cancellation number is from the period of January 28 to February 4. Interesting with Japan, the market has not been heavily impacted by the virus. No negative feedbacks and cancellations were reported from Japanese travel partners. And flights are at a steady 70% load factor. So it's business as usual for Japan.
But it's not business as usual for the companies on Saipan. Robert Jones, owner of the new Hotel Surfrider, tells Governor Torres a room will be set up in the hotel in case a virus reaches our island.
I just wonder if there's any facilities that's been set up with the government for quarantine purposes in case we do have a case. And in that light, we're moving forward with the Surfrider Hotel to set up a room and for that purpose. And I would encourage all the hotels on Saipan to have a room that they could use in case they have guests that come down with this, so they can move into that room right away with the proper food and water, medication.
Where Governor Torres and CEO of CHCC, Esther Muña, agreed with the idea.
That's a very good statement you just made, because that's one of our gaps. We are looking at, obviously we have places to put them in regards to those residents. It's hard to tell an individual who's a tourist to come and stay at the Catman facility or any other facility that is a government, right? So we appreciate that, sentiment, because that will help us, especially because the cases here that we're seeing are all tourists. They are people that want to come back eventually, and it is important that we send that message that we actually care more than, what we know.
Gloria Cavanaugh, the general manager for PIC, says they are looking for a temporary relief without making permanent cuts in staffing.
It is just a waiting game. I mean, the one thing that is really difficult for us, though, is the rules and regulations for like the CW1 program, which restricts us from making the cuts that are necessary in order to keep a full staff. If the only relief is termination, that really isn't an actual solution, because what happens when they find a vaccine and there's a treatment, and all of a sudden we get the floodgates open and we start receiving hopefully guests coming back with the urge to travel, then some of us will be at 50% staff, and you can't actually run a whole economy on that. So it's affecting everything. The cancellations, and it just goes down to just trying to stay alive with the businesses.
Glenn Pollock here is the Kanoa Resort Director of Operations and says a market shift that occurred after Typhoon Yutu is what is keeping the hotel on track with the Korean and Japanese market since the loss of Chinese tourists.
Our Korean market increased significantly, which is able to fill in those gaps we have right now. There's some hotels I know that are suffering dramatically. Could we be doing better? Absolutely. Could we be doing worse? Absolutely as well. Was this a hit? I'm not going to lie. We've been in better positions, but we're still, I'd say we're still doing okay. We've got a decent market mix with our Japanese and Koreans, even with the loss of our Chinese market right now. So we're obviously hoping it comes back when that time comes.
And Jerry Tan, president of Tan Holdings, says their main concern at this moment is the employees' safety.
First and foremost, the health and safety of our employees takes the top priority. So I met with our team and make sure that we provide maximum support to make sure that they have the necessary protection if needed, since they interact with tourists, the frontliner. And so that's really our priority right now within our company. And meantime, we hope that we can maintain our Japan and Korea market, and hopefully, we can keep the industry going, and hopefully we will get more tourists from those two countries. After all, we are corona-free.
The Attorney General is opposing parole for a male that sexually abused a teenage girl at the Division of Youth Services shelter. 70-year-old Pedro Sablan was convicted of first-degree sexual abuse of a minor back in 2011. The female was 14 years old with a disability and was in the care of Sablan at Division of Youth Services shelter. Chief Prosecutor John Bradley says Sablon would turn off the cameras so there would be no recording of the sexual assault. Sablon was sentenced to 24 years in prison, has served 8 years, and is now applying for parole.
Well, the case was heard before the parole board yesterday, and the 5 parole board members heard from the defendant and his family. And then I was allowed to speak and present on behalf of the Attorney General, and I presented the facts and an argument that this is one of the more serious cases that the courts have seen, and on that basis they should deny parole.
Bradley says the parole board will be announcing the decision within a few days. It's been over a year now since students have been taking classes in tents, but that soon is about to end. Sally Lemus reports.
The HOPWOOD Middle School campus was awfully hit by Super Typhoon Yutu. Since then, school operations were moved to Koblerville, and classes are being held in tents. The Board of Education, along with their new commissioner, Dr. Alfred Atta, have successfully come up with ways to bring students back into the classrooms.
The HOPWOOD relocation right now is still in the works. We're still discussing, but we do have some direction. We will be moving the HOPWOOD campus. We'll be opening up in Aspertito.
HOPWOOD will replace the Northern Marianas College Crees Center for Agriculture. Ada says the NMC Crees have already been informed of the relocation, and the lot will be turned over as soon as it is cleared out.
At the present moment, our first request is to look at the perimeter of that place and bring it to A&E Engineering and take a look at the lot and see how we can construct. The idea is to construct upward and not to spread out the buildings. So that in itself is a lot of time. We need time.
Ada states the project will be funded under the Community Development Block Grant, Urban Housing, and from FEMA Section 428, which is money allotted for HOPWOOD renovations and relocations.
No, the Aspertito campus is going to be a long-term plan. So careful study is being proposed, and we're making sure that, well, we're working with all the agencies, HPO, NMHC, and all the other stakeholders to make sure that what we're proposing is a long-term middle school.
While the construction of a new campus takes place, 19 classrooms at the original campus will also be renovated as part of their short-term plan.
We already came up with a checklist on what needs to take place. So first off, we need a security guard on board. Second, we will barricade the area to make sure safety is taken care of. And then third, we will be working on the CUC and electrical connection. Right after that, the next on the checklist is to work on the bathrooms and the cafeteria renovation. So there's nothing really to build, it's just basically going through it.
Ada says he hopes to bring the students back to campus by August of this year. Reporting for KSPN, I'm Sally Lemus.
Coming up, parent leaders in the CNMI get together to discuss some deep matters. Find out more after the break.
Mom, are you sure? What about the shutters? And do you have your medicine?
Don't worry about us, love, okay? You take good care of yourself. I'm in love. Yeah, sorry. The power went out, so I had to light up all the candles. Yeah. Yes, baby, yeah. I'm just glad our home phone's working and we're able to contact you.
Watch the Visitors Channel online, on time, anytime at SAIPAN2.com. Where to go, what to see, what to do. Restaurants, spas, activities, and culture. It's all in one place in high definition on your mobile device. SAIPAN2.com. Check it out.
Welcome back to the Thursday edition of Channel 2 News. Research says that parent involvement in a child's learning may positively lead to achievement. With that, the public school system continues to bring parent leaders together for more angles and ideas.
Students with involved parents are likely to result in earning good grades and good behavior. Arlie Long, current president of the Parent Advisory Council, believes the partnership of parents is also beneficial to each other.
That is mainly our purpose, is to be able to reach out to parents that are not only our leaders in our community, but those parents who don't come out to many of the events. And we want to reach to them because a lot of times they've had their own experiences where they find it difficult to either ask the question they've been wanting to ask because they're nervous, or because maybe their parents weren't very engaged when they were growing up. So we all believe that we can reach out to our parents a little bit better. So over these last few years, with so much social media influence, and we're trying to just kind of bridge that gap between the school and parents so that we can have healthier, thriving, learning, creative, beautiful children.
PTSA presidents from each school in the CNMI make up the Parent Advisory Council, and they met this morning to discuss some important matters.
We went over the PSS school initiatives. I think that their initiatives are impressive. They have really good goals. They have some strategies already, and they're actually incorporating us parents. So I think that's huge because that really goes with what I was saying about merging that gap with parents and the school system.
Long mentions that the Commissioner of Education, along with other board members, were present at the meeting, and that is an important factor.
In order for us to feel like our challenges and our successes are being filtered through the top channels of administration, having their presence was very impressive, and we really are grateful for that.
On Guam, the rebuild of one high school is entering phase 2, but is the funding secured? KUAM has this story.
Hafare CNMI, here's what's making news on Guam. Entering phase 2 on the rebuild of Simon Sanchez High School, KUAM's Adriana Cotero speaks with Guam Department of Education Superintendent John Fernandez for the latest update.
By the end of this month, when it comes down to putting your name on the dotted line, that money needs to be secure.
Once a contractor is signed on for the Simon Sanchez High School rebuild project, the underlining matter is having the funding secured.
We do have a commitment from the governor and from the legislature that once we get that contract done, which we hope to be this month, that the appropriate funds will be loaded into the right places to ensure that we're able to go.
According to Guam Department of Education Superintendent John Fernandez, there is $1.1 million reserved for the construction and financing. However, by the time the contract is signed, the department needs to certify that funding. And another issue?
We won't really know the exact amount. We've been working with an estimate of $4 million, and the governor has already committed 1.1, so we were really trying to find that 2.9. And we have a set of options that we're looking at, but we really won't know the final cost until we're done with negotiations.
Despite long-standing problems with funding, the project is still moving forward into phase 2. This is the procurement process that begins the design work of the school. GDOE issued a solicitation for proposals back in December 2019, and by the January 23rd deadline, they received between 5 to 10 proposals that are now being evaluated.
What we do is rank the proposals, and then with the highest qualified offerer, begin negotiations.
Fernandez says they anticipate having the evaluations completed by the end of this week, in order for negotiations to begin and officially enter into a contract with the winning bidder by the end of February. While SSHS is in need of an entire rebuild, as KUAM has recently reported, there are multiple other schools in the community dealing with major repairs of their own, and in fear of their campuses becoming like the home of the Sharks. And 7 years ago, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers met with GDOE and documented $90 million in deferred maintenance.
$90 million in deferred maintenance, although we've done our best to try to catch up with some of those projects, including money from U.S. Department of Interior, about $5 million to try to address things like awnings and electrical and fire alarms and so forth. That still leaves a big chunk left to fund. We're not going to be able to fund that through the operating budget that we get on an annual basis from the legislature. What it's going to take is a long-term dedicated source of funding.
Funding, the conversation that continues with GDOE and executing officials.
Where can we get a dedicated source of funding that we can use, borrow against, and really leverage to fix all the other schools?
Fernandez adds that one option up for discussion as a long-term solution is the solar energy bill. Reporting for Guam's News Network, I'm Adriana Cotero.
Stay connected via our KUAM mobile news app. Follow us on any of the social media platforms and sign up for our weekly email newsletter, KUAM Digital Digest on KUAM.com. Reporting for Guam's News Network, I'm Nestor LeConte.
All right, coming up, the craziest canoe race I or you have ever seen. It's must-see TV. It's the canoe from the salad bar.
Team or company? Bring them to the Adventure Specialist, Saipan's homegrown Marianas Trekking. Our guided adventures will challenge and excite you, and our award-winning photographers will capture it in a unique and unforgettable way. Check out our off-roading, go-karting, mountain biking, hiking, and snorkeling. And we have top-notch rental gear too. So bring your team, bring your family, or bring your best friend. Marianas Trekking inside the Mariana Resort.
You deserve more. I know it's been hard. Come on, let's go for a ride.
Hi, welcome to Dow Rent to Own.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Now this feels like home.
Dial Rent to Own, making lives better since 1987.
Buenas sports fans. Buenas sports fans, another day. Well, it's another sports league for students. The public school system has its most ambitious interscholastic sports programs ever, thanks to collaboration. Yesterday afternoon saw the launching of the latest PSS sports offering for students, middle school girls soccer. Since Nick Gross had been appointed as athletic director, school sports has expanded, resulting in more opportunities for boys and girls. Unlike the past, when it was only PSS staff, now NMIFA federations are assisting in the operations of their respective sports.
Well, this is part of that capacity building for PSS programs, but bigger than that for a healthy community, you know, and I think that this is another one of those really positive relationships that we all win in this case. And you know, NMIFA and what they've done over the course of the last 15 years is incredible, and you know, we want to make sure that we're complementing what they've done and where they've been with helping us make sure that our kids are getting appropriate coaching and appropriate access to soccer, and ideally from there then it opens up lots of opportunities for solid professional development that we can really hang our hat on, knowing that our coaches and the people that are assisting in the development of our programs are getting it directly from the horse's mouth in this case, and so it's a win-win.
NMIFA welcomes the support role. Russell Sapanta says it's also good for their organization.
Part of our strategy to improve our grassroots, and it's important that we start young. So we wanted to engage PSS and the schools so that we can get involved in that with them, work together, and grow the sport, and not just for soccer, but in general, just to get the kids out, getting active, and stay healthy as well.
The schools will be using the Olei pitch instead of the Coblerville training facility due to its central location for the two girls' divisions. Some of these girls also play on NMIFA teams, but many do not. These after-school games include girls who otherwise would not be playing soccer.
In the soccer world, we'll get through this program for our middle school girls, and then we'll finish up the season probably late March through mid-May with our girls' high school soccer, which is really just giving a lot of girls that already play soccer an opportunity. But again, that's where we entice some of the kids that aren't necessarily involved at the club level yet to come out and kind of taste it a little bit and give it a shot for their schools. And so we're hoping that that'll be a great program.
Oh, canoe racing. You know, that reminds me of the 1994 Micronesian Games on Guam. Chuk was unable to bring their canoes on the airplane, so they borrowed one from the Coco's Resort restaurant and used that instead. In canoe racing, Chuk was unable to bring their own canoe with them, and then they had to borrow one.
There you can't see any other canoes. They've already finished the race. However, Chuk is still out there. They got their boat from the salad bar at Cocos Islands. Yes, that's correct. They didn't have a canoe here, so that is from the outer islands of Truk. You can see him turning around, and he almost sunk. He's still cheering, and he's heading back for the finish line, although he didn't go the halfway. So there you can see the salad bar boat from Chuk coming in last place, but they're having a good time.
Here's the windup and the pitch.
I don't believe what I just saw!
Let's roll at Gold's Gym SAIPAN with group exercise for every body. Total Resistant Exercise, or TRX, helps develop your core and improve strength. And Zumba toning is probably the funnest way to get fit. The Shake Cafe is a great place to stop by for a meal replacement or supplements. Today is the first day of the rest of your life.
Today's high 86, low 77, humidity 70%. Tomorrow, partly cloudy, isolated showers, northeast winds 10 to 20 miles an hour. High 86, low 77, sea 6 to 8 feet. Beware of rip currents. Sunrise 6:44, high tide 7:21 in the morning, followed by a low tide 12:30. Sunset at 17 past 6.
For that weather report, and looked like a little fun canoe experience.
That was the most amazing thing, guys. I had stayed out the Cocos Island. That's Larry Hillbloom had that. It's on the southern tip of Guam. It's kind of like their Managaha.
Yeah.
And they had a restaurant, and in the salad bar, they'd taken a Chuukese canoe, a Carolinian canoe, and they used that and put all the salad and the desserts and everything on top of it. It was really, really cool. But then it went out of business, and they closed. And so I think it closed like 1993 or maybe 1994, right before those games. And so this Chuk contingent, the paddlers had come up, and they flew all the way from Chuk to Guam, and they wanted to race, but they didn't have a canoe for them.
Couldn't bring them.
And so they'd heard about this Carolinian canoe in the restaurant, so they went out there and they actually got it and brought it over, and then they raced. But then everybody took off, and the guy couldn't couldn't go anywhere.
Look,
'cause
a
it
little
was
water was leaking in there.
He didn't
Wouldn't get
even-
far,
he
yeah.
just got out, and then he was just bailing the whole time while everybody else was racing.
Yeah.
I'll never forget that.
Looked like a lot of fun though.
It
So
was
look like you might have still enjoyed
Fond
it.
memories.
Yeah, that's
But,
good.
yeah, we'll have canoe racing, but nothing like that.
Nothing that great. All right, well, thank you for tuning in tonight. Tune in tomorrow night at 6. Have a great rest of your night.
Good night.